Hi, Adrian from Road Construction here. Today I'm just about to show you how a professional deck is being built around the world by professional contractors everywhere. And this information I'm about to give you is for one purpose only, is so when you're interviewing a contractor, these are the step-by-step procedures he must know. Or if you're checking up on them at a job site, you should see them at least doing some of these procedures, or if not all of them, in order to ensure that your project will turn out properly. Now you can also take a look at our other videos, which is a DIY video or professional decks being built by Road Construction to our standard. Our standard is a little bit more exceeded than the national standard. So we're going to show you the material that the original contractor ordered and show you why it wouldn't have. Here's the frame they're about to use. It's just 2x6 lifespan on a composite deck, spanned over 10 to 12 feet, is gonna last not even 4 to 5 years. See, they had started here already, taking this stuff up. The guy that started this is a fence contractor. He's a well-known fence contractor in Toronto, but I personally know who the guy is, and he's horrible at building anything. So when it comes to laying out the footings, these strings are all marked according to the drawing and squared properly to the house to ensure that when the deck starts being built, everything lands where it's supposed to land according to drawing. Now, I'm not going to show you the technique of how this is done, but you should see this exact same thing here when dealing with a supposable professional contractor. Here's what this project looks like in 3D. Day 2, dig day. As you can see, this dirt is wet, and the reason why it's wet is more than likely this backyard is sitting on a river, or there's a water table under here. Now what happens is, yes, the holes are 4 feet deep, but the problem is now the bottom is extremely soft, so the deck will sink even though this hole is 4 feet deep. And because it's wet and it's sitting on possibly a river, when it does freeze, frost line is only 2 feet, but it will transfer all the way down to the 4 feet, and this deck will raise. Now, because this deck is only a couple inches off the floor, 16 inches to be exact, it's extremely hard to fix a deck like this, so it has to be done properly. So what we do to avoid anything like that is do what they call a mushroom at the bottom of the hole. You can't see it, but what you have to do is just taper the bottom so it looks like a bell. That stops the deck from being pushed up or being sunken down. Hi, so here we're showing you how we set footings. This is a professional way of setting footings, especially on a deck that is this low. This is about 16 inches off the ground. There's two types of framing for this. It's joist flush beam plus joist on beam. This is joist on beam just because of the design that we chose. Now, when we're doing the joist on beam, there isn't much room left for post here, so we have to bring these footings actually a little bit high or adjusted to the height of where we'd usually have a post going. So now I'm going to show you how we do this with our laser system. This laser system catches the exact height that we need all the way through. Here is footing number 1. Now, if you hear that beep, it's a very fast beep. That's how you know that this is set perfectly. Versus a slow beep. That's a slow beep. That's the fast beep. So here's the fast beep. I put it on here. Next one. So the deck we're building is a Trex deck, and because it's a long-lasting product, especially the new Trex product, it's a PVC cap product. So far it's been in the market for 6-7 years. It hasn't been faded or anything like that. So it looks like it is expected to go 25 years. Now we're talking pretty much any PVC product, any plastic product, even hardwood products. These are the precautions you want to see your contractor doing to ensure that the structure that the decking is going on is going to last as close to the decking itself, or at least halfway there. Now again, this video is based on how a professional should build and not how we build. We ideally use steel on everything we do now to ensure that the frame lasts as long as the decking. But again, this is what professional contractors should be doing. Now we're gluing the beams together. Upon gluing, you have to shoot these things every 16 inches on center, and because this is a 2x8, we're shooting 5 3-inch nails 16 inches on center all the way through. This is a 30-foot beam. Now this process is called glue lam beam, and if you ask your contractor if he's going to be gluing the beams, or you say glue lam beams and he doesn't understand what you're talking about, it's the wrong guy for your project. Making sure it's level through, so when I start building it's much easier for framing process and finishing process. I'll let you see inside just get the beam all nice and level, then I come through and do final finish. As you can see, this is a time-consuming process. That's why a lot of guys don't know about it or don't care to know about it. It's much easier to just put the stuff together, put a few nails in it, and get out of the project and make some money. Here's another thing I forgot to mention. There's a few types of nails on the market. The ones we use, the ones professionals use, is hot dip galvanized ring shank for outdoor. What this is the hot dip galvanized makes sure that it wouldn't rust and fall apart later on. Number one. Number two, the plain stuff doesn't work in the pressure treated. The chemical in the pressure treated actually eats through the nails. And the second part of this is the rings on here ensures that when it goes into the wood, it actually gets kind of stuck almost like a screw. But better than that, what I found was these nails are actually a little bit soft. As they go in, it tends to curl into the wood, which gives more grabbing power. There we go, all done. I'm going to show you what the beam looks like. I am attaching the frame of the deck to the house, and how this is done. This is done by a lag bolt. This bolt is hot dip galvanized, 1/2 inch by 10 inch. 10 inches long. Now, this bolt is very hard to get. It's not readily available in every single stores, so a lot of guys end up just using what's available, which is an 8-inch bolt. I'm going to show you why an 8-inch bolt never works, and eventually the deck does pull away from the house. You never hear about people getting killed or anything like that when a deck is falling down. This is a low deck. If it was to fall, nothing would happen, but I have seen guys put shorter bolts on higher decks, or the wrong bolts in the house before, and it should definitely be illegal, but because no one gets killed, no action is taken ever on the law on these things. So again, it's a 10-inch bolt, 1/2 inch. These holes that I put into the ledger, this back part called a ledger, has to be anywhere from 24 inches to 32 inches apart. Though that specific size is determined on how far away the beam is away from the house and how far away the joist is spread apart. This specific deck I did 30 inches on center. Now, as you can see, I'm not sure if you can see here in the camera, but all of the holes have also been treated with pressure treated end cuts, and anywhere that we ended up cutting on this deck, all of the blockings, as you can see the blockings here, they've all been soaked in the pressure treated end cuts. Now, again, this is how a professional deck is being built. This stuff is extremely time consuming. This is day 2.5. I'll be done today with all the cuts and framing and putting the end cuts on the stuff. It's extremely time consuming. So again, when a professional is doing it and someone else comes and says, oh well, you know, another contractor says you can do it in half the time, well, there's a reason why half the time. So I'm about to show you what is it. Again, this is a electric impact gun. I've seen guys really force these things in the wall with a regular small little impact drill. Again, professional way of doing it. So, as you can see, this is how much is sticking out, and that sticking out there is actually 3 inches. Now, if that was an 8-inch bolt, it'll be holding into the house ledger by 1 inch, which is not good enough, especially on higher decks with a lot of weight, and especially if they didn't space the bolts properly. Now, upon putting these things in a wall, it is your duty as the homeowner to know this information that I'm telling you, because you have to trust the contractor. It's actually literally your duty in Ontario, because even if this deck is built wrong, it's still your fault, no matter what the contractor says. So this is why I give this informative videos. That is a loophole in the system. Now, upon driving these in, if someone is using this, you have to at least take a peek and see what they're doing sometime. I mean, if you're not home, do question it. They cannot squeeze this thing all the way through. What will happen is this will end up pulling in so hard, it ends up pulling the ledger out from in the house that's actually holding the house framing system that looks exactly like this. And that ends up pulling closer to this one, and the joists that are in the hangers that are inside the house ends up pulling out. It becomes another dangerous situation. So when you take a look, let's say you're not home, and you were to come back and take a look, you have to make sure this thing is at least sunken in by maximum 1/4 of an inch, nothing more than that. what that sunken in part looks like. Nothing more than that. That's about 1/8 of an inch, not even 1/4. Standard framing procedure is 16 inches on center. Most guys will just take that and run with it. When doing a deck like this, as you notice, the spacing on pretty much, there's 3 sections on here, and each section is going to be a different size. Because we're doing a custom feature, this octagon here, as you can see, it's framed out all the way around for a picture frame. Then we come back this way. Framing is going to be different. There's a border, so it's a different size. Here are these. On center is 13 3/4. All of these here are 13 3/4. Some of these here are 12s, and most of them here are 14 1/4. And the reason for 14 1/4 is we're using Trex. Now this is a composite PVC capped material. They say to put it 16 inches on center. Now 16 inches on center is the max you would end up putting one of these boards or any of the PVC product or composite boards. What'll happen is as the board heats up and you walk on it, it will wave. So I like to go 14 or less. A lot of guys in the southern states of the United States, they like to end up using 12s just for the fact that it keeps the board nice and sturdy. Now you start framing that close, it becomes very expensive because it's not the cost of the extra framing joists, it's the cost of labor, because it's extremely time consuming. So now because we did the 14 here, the gun doesn't fit one time to shoot the blockings in. These are the blockings going on in the middle here. To shoot the blocking in is extremely difficult, and especially with a deck this low, it's even more difficult. So as you can see, all cuts, including the blockings we did, have all been sealed. Again, this is another time-consuming process. As you can see how it soaks into the wood. Again, this ensures the wood's going to last a little bit longer, at least 5 years from its actual lifespan. Our joist is all wrapped with breathable membrane. On top of wrapping the joist, beam has to be wrapped also, or else it's going to start splitting apart. Water sits in between and it starts to rot. This information comes from usually when we're demolishing a deck. Upon demolishing a deck, you find out exactly the mistakes they made in the past and you can correct it today. Here's the most important part of attaching a stair. As you can see, our lower part here is completely wrapped. That's where it tends to rot fastest. Now we wrap the stair. Even the blocks that are in back here has to be treated, then wrapped. All of these are already treated already. Now they're being wrapped.